Graph the line, y equals 3x. Oh, I forgot to read the title here. Graphing a linear equation of the form y equals mx. So this is telling you right away, we're going to be dealing with lines that are only y equals mx. We're not going to have a plus b, which we've dealt with slope-intercept a little bit at this point, I believe, for most of the classes. So we're only going to have, and I'm just going to click clear here. So we're only going to have y equals mx. So what they want us to do, because this is all they're going to show us, is graph the line. They give us an equation, and then they're going to give us the graph. And so what we need to do is decide 3 points to plug in. These are by far the easiest points to plug in, 0, 1, and 2. So if you notice here in the middle, they have y equals 3x is our equation, and instead of x, they're plugging in 0. So it's y equals 3 times 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So then for your coordinate, you're plugging in 0 for x. So you put 0 above in the x spot, and then you got 0 for y. So you put 0 in here. Same thing for the next one. So we're plugging in 1. So we have y equals 3 times 1. Again, 1 took the place of x. 1 times 3 is 3. So now I go over here to my coordinate. I plugged in 1 for x. So I put a 1 here in the x spot, and then I got 3 out of it. So y equals 3. So I put 3 here. So we're just filling in the coordinates. And then once we get all 3 of these, we come down here and we graph. So we graph, they have 0, 0. Then they have 1, 3. And for some reason, they don't have the third one on here, which would be 2, 6. So they just didn't put a dot. I put too many dots there. So they just didn't put a dot right here. But you can graph all 3 points. You only need 2 points to make a line. The third point is to make sure you've done your math correctly. That's really what it's for. So let's go ahead and practice this on the next page because it'll make a little more sense when we see it. Okay, so let me scroll up here. So I have y equals negative x. So this is our middle column. So I'm going to go like this. Make this weird little box column here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill this in. So we need to pick 3 things to plug in for x. So we're going to 0, 1, and 2. Do you have to pick 0, 1, and 2? No. Are those the easiest ones to pick? Yes. So now instead of x, I'm going to write going across here because this is kind of like a chart here. And I'm trying to do a dotted line, sorry. So going across here, if I plug in 0, what do I get? So y equals negative 0. Well, there's no such thing as negative 0, so it's just 0. So if I plug in 0, I get 0. So now over here, we want to put the coordinate. Remember, it goes x, then y when you're putting in a coordinate. I should have made that box a little bigger. So I plugged in 0 for x, and I got 0 back out, like that. All right, next one, we have 1. So we're going to say y equals, instead of negative x, I'm going to put negative 1. So the negative is already there. I'm just plugging in the 1. So that's pretty easy. Y equals negative 1. So x was 1. That's what we plugged in for x. Y, I got negative 1. All right, my last one here, I have y equals, negative is already in the equation. Now I'm going to plug in 2 for x. So I plugged in 2 for x, and I got negative 2. All right, let's go and graph. So I need to grab my pencil tool to do this. If you ever come up with coordinates over here that are fractions or anything like that, you can click on this, and you can actually type in your coordinates here. You can do that too right now. I can go 0, 0. It'll show me a little X right here. Don't forget to hit plot the point because it's just going to show it to you for a moment. Once your coordinate clears out of here, then you know that it's actually put on there. So I can do the same thing. I can go 1, negative 1, and then it's going to show me, look, there's my next point, and I can click plot. So I can keep doing that, and that's if you end up with decimals or fractions. Or something, in between, like that would be a decimal or fraction, where you can't graph it. So let me put my last one on here. So I'm going to go right 2, down 2. So that's what this means. Right 2, because it's positive, down 2, because it's negative. So here's my 3 points, and I'm going to connect any 2 of them. So I can connect the first and the third, the first and the second and the third. As long as they're all on the line, I did what I was supposed to do. All right, we did it. So let's go to the next one here. And, oh, I forgot to hit next. next. All right, now I can grab my pencil tool. All right, so we have y equals 3/4 times x. So if I have my grid here like this, and remember this one, we're going to write x, then y. So in this one, we're always going to have this worked out like this. And this is our x. So the three easiest points, 0, 1, and 2. So you can already fill this in. I know I'm going to plug in 0. I know I'm going to plug in 1. I know I'm going to plug in 2. What we need to do is find out what is y going to be. So y equals 3/4 times, and I'm going to put this in parentheses just so you know it's a times 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So I get 0, 0 for my first one. Y equals 3/4 times 1. Well, anything times 1 is itself, so this is going to be 3/4. And then I have y equals 3/4 times 2. All right, well, anything times 2, remember there's a 1 under here. So you go 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1, and I'm just bringing this down because I didn't have enough room. 4 times 1 is 4. So I multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom like that. So that's all you do. The only thing we have to make sure we do is reduce. Both of these can divide by 2. So I get 3 divided by 2 is, 2 divided by 3. Can't talk right now. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So my answer is 3/2. So make sure, even if you end up with fractions, that's perfectly fine. It's not going to hurt anything because I can use this graphing tool. So my first one is easy. 0, 0. It means I don't go anywhere. I just start in the center and I put a check right there in the center so you can see my little x. The next one, I do need to use that plotting tool. So I'm going to put 1, and then I'm going to click on the fraction, and I'm going to go 3/4. So I need to make sure I do that because otherwise I can't plot in between like that. I have to go over all the way to 1, all the way up to 1. It's not going to let me plot with the pencil 3/4. So I have to do it this way. Same thing with the next one. I have 2, and then I'm going to do fraction 3/2. Whoops. Okay, excellent. Hit the divide symbol. So there we go. We can see that pop up. Make sure you hit plot point or it's not actually going to keep it. And then I need to do my line tool. And I'm just going to connect 2 of my points. As long as all 3 are in a line, you did a good job there. All right, one more of these. Let's clear this out. And okay, so we have y equals 2x, and we have our kind of big chart here again. Remember, this is the x spot, and 0, 1, 2, those are usually the easiest ones. This is my x and my y. So this is where I'm going to put my coordinates, like this. So remember, you already know you're going to plug in 0. You already know you're going to plug in 1. You already know you're going to plug in 2. So you can fill the x spot in here. That's your x coordinate, your x portion of your coordinate. All you're going to do in here is figure out when I plug in x, what do I get? Y equals 2 times 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. Y equals 2 times 1. Well, anything times 1 is itself. So that was easy. Y equals 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so I put 4 here. So whatever you get once you've finished simplifying, you just put your answer over on this side. Make sure you're paying attention to negatives and things like that. All right, in this case, we didn't have any negatives, so that was easy. All right, so these ones we can graph with the pencil tool, all of them. So 0, 0, that one's always just right there in the middle because remember the first number is right or left, the second number is up or down. So I don't know if I've said that yet in this video, but if it's 0, I'm not going to go right or left, and then the second number is 0, so I'm not going to go up or down. I am exactly where I want to be. All right, my next one is 1, 2. So 1 tells me to go right 1 because it's a positive 1, and then 2 tells me to go up 2 because it's a positive 2. You have to do that in the right order. You can't just decide, oh, I'm going to go up first and then go right second. You have to make sure you're following the order. 1 is for right or left. 2 is for up or down. So you have to make sure that you're using that correctly. All right, my last one, I have 2, 4, so I'm going to go right 2 and up 4. All right, let's go ahead and connect this and click check. Yay, we finished another one.